cut into time. I just wanted to thank the District 112 Run the Red International Speech Marathon, the Guinness World Record, for sponsoring this PR for Success Conference today. So a round of applause for them. This next session, Masterclass 4, we'll call it How to Tell Our Stories. Our first speaker today is Vince Ford, who will talk about connection through story. Vince is the author of 16 books for children and teens. He won the Junior Fiction category of New Zealand Children's Book Awards and won the Children's Choice category 3 times. He's been a student in the International Writers Program at the University of Iowa. He's presented thousands of children through the Writers in Schools program. He's a member of the New Zealand Professional Speakers Association and president of Tauranga Toastmasters. He's won 2nd and 3rd place twice in the Toastmasters International Speech Contest. Vince is currently researching and writing an adult book on connection and story, as well as running workshops. He's a keynote speaker and MC at community and corporate events. With our Connection Through Storytelling Masterclass, Toastmasters participants will discover the key to connecting with prospective members and building a trusting relationship. Will focus on listening to their stories, finding out what motivates them and has brought them to Toastmasters in the first place. Then we'll work on the stories that you could use to help new members see themselves at Toastmasters. Please join me in welcoming Vince Ford.
Welcome to Toastmasters.
Kia ora.
I'm going to be talking today on connection through story. And I reckon stories are something we all need to tell. I think every one of us gets up every day and we tell stories. Much the same way we get up every day and we get dressed. And some of us get dressed better than others. And I think the important things with a story are that you tell a story that's appropriate to the situation. It's like wearing the clothes that are appropriate to the situation. And it's important too that your clothes fit you. And it's important that your stories are your stories and that they fit you. And I think that's 90% of what storytelling is. The other part is just the accessories and zhuzhing things up and keeping things looking good. But if you can tell a right story that's for the occasion and it's your story, then you're 90% of the way there. This is about connection through story. And we're talking about guests at their first Toastmasters meeting. And you've all been there. You know what that's like. It's pretty scary. And I'm going to be talking today about mentalizing, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. I did it just the other day. I was going for a bike ride. And I asked my wife, Ondi, if she wanted to meet me for a coffee down at the Tupuna Deli. And she was strangely reluctant, which was weird because I know Ondi loves going out for a coffee. And I tried to put myself in her shoes. She's sitting down at the Tupuna Deli with a nice flat white. And Vince comes in. He's wearing his bike shorts. He looks like a dork. I suggested I might take my track pants down to the cafe, and she was much more excited about meeting me for a coffee under those circumstances. So it's about putting yourself in someone else's shoes. It's called mentalizing, and actually you can show it on brain scans. So it's about putting ourselves in the shoes of that guest at their first Toastmasters meeting. Because Toastmasters is weird. It's a mystery. It's like Fight Club. You don't know anything about it until you turn up. If you've never been to a Toastmasters meeting, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what it's about. It's just really strange. And you get evaluated publicly. Where else does that happen? It's humiliating. It can be humiliating if that's how you see it. And it's your biggest fear. Often the people that are turning up to our Toastmasters clubs, that's why they're there, because they're scared of public speaking. And they don't know whether they're going to be dragged up and asked to speak in front of the whole club. How do they feel in that situation? So I say turn to story. And why should we use story? Firstly, because it's memorable. Professor Matthew Lieberman from the University of California looked at mentalizing, and he found that when we use story, we use that mentalizing part of our brain. And interestingly, it has a stronger memory, it has memory that's quite separate to our normal memory system in our brains. And in many cases, it's more powerful. Chip Heath from Stanford found that information delivered through story is 12 times more memorable than that information alone. We need to tell stories. And it moves us. When we listen to story, it releases dopamine. It's like coffee. It grabs our attention. It also releases oxytocin, the love drug. Makes us feel good. And stories connect us. Professor Yuri Hassan from Princeton found that when I'm telling a story and you're listening to me, your brain activity synchronizes with mine. We're literally connected. So stories are important. They're a great way to transmit information. And they're a great way to help the members of your club feel like they're connected with your club. What is the most important story? It's their story. It's what brings them there to that club on that night. Why are they there? And that's the first thing as a PR member that you need to find out. What is their story? Why are they there in the first place? And you need to ask, and you need to genuinely listen. Listen to what they say and maybe ask a second question. You told me this. What was that about? What happened there? Because if you can understand what brings them to your club, then you've got a far better chance of bringing them back again. And when you know what their story is, it can be really helpful. Has anyone heard of Owen Eastwood from the book Belonging? If you get the opportunity to read that book, I really encourage it. He worked with some top sports teams and found out what it is that helps them belong. He worked in a whole lot of cultures. He got the 3 leaders of NATO together. And usually when they're in a room, 16 other people are in that room. It took him 3 months, but he got them sitting in the same room together, and he asked them a question. How did you get to be around this table? And they sat and they talked and they told their histories and their stories, and they laughed and joked and spent a whole morning doing that. And I feel a whole lot safer because those people know where they're coming from and they know why they're in that room. And if you know where they're coming from, you can know a little more about what's behind their decisions. Ooh, got a clicker problem here. And that's the most important story. What brings you to our Toastmasters meeting tonight? And it might go back to something from childhood. It might be for social. It might be a whole number of reasons. I want you to think about what categories bring people to Toastmasters to your club. Anyone? What brings Toastmasters to your club? Why do they come?
Have to speak at a special occasion.
A special occasion? You just sing it out and I'll repeat it so the people online can hear it.
Confidence.
Confidence, awesome. Anyone else?
Like meeting new people.
New people. Public speaking. I came along to my first Toastmasters because I wanted to meet people. I'd moved to a district I hardly knew anyone. It was a great opportunity.
New friends.
New friends.
Communication.
Communication. Thank you. What was that?
Giving
feedback. Getting feedback. Thank you so much. So people come to your club for different reasons. Public speaking for work, community, self-confidence. We've come up with a whole number of them. Okay, well, I want you to think about who are the people in your club. So maybe there's 3 categories of people that come along to your club as guests. I want you to think about the people that are already in your club that have done those things. If it's about self-confidence, think of someone in your club who was less confident and now they are confident. If it was about public speaking skills for personal occasions, maybe they've got a wedding, maybe they've got something coming up that they need to speak about. Think of someone in your club that has been on that journey. But because stories are about change. Every great story is about change. I was afraid, and now I'm not afraid. I was alone, now I'm part of a community. I avoided public speaking, and now I don't. And if you can tap into those stories from members of your club, then you can introduce someone with a need, someone that needs something. You can introduce them to someone that's gained that thing who's already in your club. How have they changed? We'll say with how have they changed, okay? And the biggest law, I think, in storytelling is the law of proximity. The closer you are to that story, the better you tell it. I can tell a story about someone over the other side of the world. Yeah. I can tell about a story about someone that I know personally. It's better. If I tell my story, that's the greatest one. And I can tell how I was thinking and how I was feeling in a moment. Often that's the difference between reading a novel and watching a movie. In a novel, they can say exactly what's going on in their head and how they're feeling. And if you can get someone to tell their story, that's going to be the most powerful story. So look for someone in your club and look to introduce these batches. Look to introduce a member in your club to that guest and ask them to tell their story. And if you're PR, identify a few of those people before and ask them if they're comfortable to share their story with the new guest so that you know you can bring a guest along and introduce them and have them sit down together and say, hey, tell them about how you joined Toastmasters and how you found it and what you've gained out of it. And if you can do that in a one-on-one situation, I think that goes a long way for overcoming people's fear and helping them see the potential and see how they can change in a positive way, in the same way that the other person has changed. So you'll match their need to a story. Can you identify 3 people in your club? Take a minute and think about 3 people in your club and talk about it with someone beside you. 3 people in your club that have changed from being in your club, that have got different stories, that have changed in different ways, and think who you might identify to introduce your guests to. Take 2 minutes and do that now.